What's up, Print Hustlers? Bruce from Printavo here, Simple Shop Management Software. Today, we are in Denver, Colorado, one of my favorite places to be, and we're at Superior Ink, Dominic Rosacci shop.
Like
anyway,
Versace with an R.
like Versace, but a little more ink and
A little less V, a little less flashy.
yeah. All right, let's go take a look. This is a beautiful space here.
Thank you. We put a lot of work into this guy.
Wait, so was it just a blank open space before?
This was all production inventory. So like we did fulfillment, and we had garment storage here. So we tore that out and we put in this ADA bathroom, and then built out all of our sales offices down here too.
Did you have this space originally, or was it?
This was our space, but yeah, it was all open. It was just kind of like production floor.
Got it.
So we decided to bring the team from upstairs to down here. Floyd over here does all the stickers, signs, banners. We're actually moving our showroom down here.
Oh,
Next
there is a
couple
showroom
months.
too?
Yeah, it's upstairs.
Oh, it's 2 floors.
So we'll
How
move
long
it
have you
down
been here?
We just re-signed another 5 years. So we've been here for 5. Be here another 5 years. This is George and Luke's office. Some garment samples in there for your viewing pleasures.
I like the sliding doors.
Yeah, I installed those guys myself.
Really?
No.
Okay. How'd you get into screen printing, Tom?
Snowboarding. Skateboarding and snowboarding.
What, just then printing for your own brand or something?
Yeah, I started a company called Neovolt back in 1896.
That makes you...
About 140. All right, it's our screen room. This is Arturo. We call him El Toro, like the bull.
Hey, Toro.
Pasa. We got our screen room in here. Yeah. Morning.
Morning.
Let's do some filming.
Morning.
The dark room.
So you actually got a lot of space in here. What's the square footage of the facility?
It's about 15.
Okay.
15,000. All right, I'll give you the rundown on ink.
Okay.
Because everybody asks if we're 100% water-based, and no, we're not, for 2 reasons. We like to give the customer the choice. We like to educate them on both options. I don't necessarily think that water-based is the most eco-friendly yet until better options come. So that's my stance on it. We do water-based on this side, and then we have all of our plastisol archived on this side of the house. So we still like to give the choice, we like to give the option, plus water-based doesn't work for every single garment, so we don't want to corner ourselves with one option and then eliminate certain types of garments. We like to push people towards water-based, but not just go that way exclusively and only give them one option.
How do you upsell it? Like, do you charge more? Or
We
no?
actually don't.
Okay.
You know, we
Is
just
that something you
encourage them.
want to do, or you're fine?
I mean, we probably should because it costs more and there's more involved, but we won't, with the sustainability effort and eco-friendly, like we kind of push people towards that and then try to stay away from, discharge as much as possible and just go with options that work, like, high solid acrylic, and that's kind of what we're trying to move towards. So it's a work in progress, but again, we like to just lay all the options on the table and then let the customer decide what they feel is best.
Got it. So you keep all the water-based in over here?
These are all the plastisol archived buckets, and then we don't archive any water-based colors. We just make it from scratch. But a lot of the skate brands and those customers don't want to move towards water-based, so we don't necessarily want to just say you have to do this.
They like the thicker feel of the plastisol?
They like the thicker feel, plus like these koozies. We'll go look at this for fish pond. There's certain projects that plastisol is gonna remain the best option, at least until a soy based or something new replaces it. We're not gonna go 100% until we feel like the industry's evolved to that point.
So that's a really good question, and I know we talked about that at the water-based camp that SGA put on, but when you started doing water-based here, were there some changes that you had to make in the shop, or of your process?
For sure. It's still a process of changing things and adjusting things. I think the biggest challenge that we still deal with is who the best company is based on certain aspects. There's so many different variables and things to overcome, and I don't think that there's one out-of-the-box company that handles everything. There's different bases to use, there's different fixers, there's additives and things. It's not like plastisol where you're just taking it out of the bucket.
Take out the bucket and just slap it on.
So they're just learning, and then, you know, obviously all the like the environmental changes, you know, your dryer adjustments, your climate control, mixing ratios, not, you know, you have to make small portions and get the color matching right, and then you make the big portions, adjusting to the type of garment, color shifting, migration. There's a lot of things to know. That's why we don't want to go 100%, you know.
You've got these smaller manuals over here. Is that for live printing or?
Yeah, this is our like boneyard of equipment. We have a big old rotary press here for like posters and like big canvas prints, cut and sew projects. Then we have kind of all of our live printing equipment as well.
You guys do a lot of live printing?
We do. We do probably like maybe 6 to 10 events a year. So not as much as we used to, but now we're more selective with them. It's a lot of work.
Makes sense.
It's a lot of work. But it's fun to get out of the shop sometimes. We've got garment staging over here. Orders getting prepped, staged for production. Incoming zone, incoming inventory, garment counting, staging. Got kind of the circle flow going. So stuff comes in, move it over to production.
So they count it just on the tables or so and then set it on the...
Yeah, or just go straight to carts depending on what the order is. Sometimes like we have to adjust our space here because we'll get, you know, several pallets in, you know, 10 pallets at a time, whether stuff's going to get stored for fulfillment later or get staged for production. The space is always evolving, you know.
Got it. What do you use the racks for? Just storing customers' inventory?
Yeah. Some people will like pre-produce inventory and we'll hold on to it and then pull it from the shelves when they need it. But sometimes they're full, sometimes it goes light. It just depends on the time of the year and who's actually doing storage versus, you know, a lot of people are doing on demand. So we're trying to work towards that. It's a process.
So this is the new press, right?
This is, yeah.
So what made you want to upgrade, and what'd you have before?
We had the P12, we went to the P18, and a lot of that had to do with switching to water base. You know, you have to have flashes and cool downs and a lot more heads. If you're doing like a 3-color job with water based, you're gonna actually probably use 6 or 7 heads. So just being able to set up more water based jobs and have open areas to run around the press, and then we could set up multiple jobs at a time. So we didn't necessarily do it so we could do 14 color jobs, although literally a week after we got this press we got a 14 color job. I don't know how that happened.
You tested it out?
Yeah. Mainly like we'll have clients, if we're getting approvals, we can have multiple jobs set up at once, get everything set up, and then as approvals go you're already set with like 3 or 4 jobs that you can run.
Got it, because you do the on-press approval.
Do.
So what made you move to that?
Spoilage. I mean, just running jobs without having like a final strike proof. Like they obviously have the digital proof, which is good, but seeing it in person, it just mitigates the risk of running something that would otherwise get caught by the customer, spelling errors, placement issues.
So how do you do that? So literally you set up the press, run one shirt, take a picture, email it to them?
Yeah, we'll give them a heads up. Like we're trying to work with Printavo to get some SMS heads up messaging, but right now it's just production team has their own phone and an iPad, and they'll just give the customer like a 30-minute window and let them know that a press proof's coming. There's issues with it, like there is everything. Sometimes people won't get back to us. A lot of times if it takes them more than like an hour to get back to us, we'll break down the job and then charge them to reset it back up.
Really?
Or sometimes we don't.
And they're okay with that? Or?
Yeah, I mean there's an understanding. We have an option for if they do want a press proof, they'll have to fill out a form.
Got it.
And we'll have all of our kind of fine print on what that entails if they do want a press proof. If they decline it, we still do it just because we want to have that extra security measure. Sometimes people say we really don't care. We'll shoot them a photo anyways, but 9 times out of 10 we'll just run it. If it looks good, we'll make an executive decision.
So, but you said that if they want the press check, so you don't do it for all jobs then?
We'll ask these boys.
Okay.
Because they're more in the thick of it, but basically if they don't fill out the press approval form, it's kind of up to us whether we want to do it just for an extra check. But if it's for repeat clients and stuff that we have physical samples of, we never will do it. It's just for first-time customers. It's more of a...
So it kind of depends.
Yeah, it does kind of depend. It's kind of a security blanket. I'll let Hunter speak more to that because he's in the thick of it.
Do you ever charge for it or no?
We thought about it, but we decided
or
that
you think it like saves you money in the back end?
It does because of spoilage. Like if you're going to run a 5,000 piece job and you're worried about making $50 for a press check, but if you did something wrong, it's going to end up costing you $10,000.
Sure.
I'd much rather just eat that $50 press check fee just as a security blanket for us. And it's just a good measure. It's peace of mind for them and it's peace of mind for us. Nobody wants to run a bad job. They don't want you to mess up their shirts. We don't want to mess up the shirts. It takes an extra 30 minutes, so be it. You know what I mean? Just to have that extra confidence.
Makes sense.
Takara, he's been with us for, how long you been here?
It's about a year now.
About a year.
From what island?
Hawaii, Big Island.
Okay.
Yeah, born and raised.
We've got a few big shops there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is great. I mean, you got a lot of a good space and a nice big dryer and everything.
Where we're getting squeezed out is this fulfillment and garment storage because that's a big thing these days, you know.
What, holding and shipping for bands or for brands and stuff?
Yeah, holding inventory and then, you know, offering fulfillment. That's where we're a little bit tight on space, but there's a lot of warehouse space around here, so if we need to grow into something, we will.
So brands will ask you and then you just say, we don't have a space for that, that much, or what?
Kind of, or we'll work with a 3PL and outsource it. Like if they have like, say 5 or 6 pallets of stuff that they want to pre-print, we'll produce it, send it to them, and they'll do the fulfillment. It's more and more of a common request these days.
Is that because you work with a lot of brands, or just overall you feel like it's...
I think overall, I just feel like that's where people are adapting. People are moving away from the model of like mass producing when they're doing like short campaigns, you know. They'll still produce volume, but they're not going to do 5,000-10,000 pieces if it's a limited campaign. They'd rather do shorter runs and turn them quicker. What I'm saying is not necessarily like the standard overall, but it's the pattern that I'm starting to recognize more and more of, and it makes sense. As much as I hate to say that, it does make sense. But it's also good too because it helps offset that problem of overproducing and trend turnover. You know, because you're producing only what you need. And that's, you know, not to go off on a tangent, but in terms of sustainability, like people ask what's the most eco-friendly thing you can do for a shop? And that's the whole Patagonia philosophy. The most eco-friendly thing to do is buy vintage, you know, like rebuy stuff that's already produced. And that's why like I'm stoked on the vintage apparel market because people are like thrifting, throwbacks are fashionable. That's great. I mean, the most eco-friendly shop is a shop that is like not mass producing. They're producing only what the industry calls for.
It makes sense, and that is a huge trend now, fashion-wise. But the flip side is it doesn't really affect your business, right?
Well, no, it doesn't because essentially, like,
if somebody wants for their family reunion, they're not going to go buy 50 used shirts.
Yeah,
and share that.
That's
a different.
For sure. But here's the thing: is like. It does, I think, affect the industry. It doesn't really affect our business yet because if you have 7 outfits in a week and you're using like vintage or throwback stuff and you're not buying a new wardrobe every single day or every other day, like there's still a lot of apparel that's being produced.
So you're saying the retail brands then are the one that'll feel that?
What I have the
funnels down to you guys.
Yes, but what I have the biggest problem with is like you have thrifters or vintage like industry folks that like that retro style, but they're buying like big box brands that are doing throwbacks. So it's like, even if it's a niche market, people that are thrifters and into buying like old 90s collections, go to a thrift store and get those because they're already produced. You know what I mean? Don't go buy it new, brand new, because then you're just investing back into that overabundance. You know, it's like, it's just minimizing consumerism on like little macro levels. You know, I'm not saying everybody should go to ARC thrift store to buy their wardrobe, but here and there, like add that into your collection bit by bit instead of buying new stuff every time. And like eventually, I don't think that necessarily hurts our business. You know, there's still trends and there's still things that we're going to be producing on big and low scales. But it's just telling people to be like conscious about their purchasing habits. And you don't have to buy the next best thing every single time. If you want to be fashionable, do some 90s throwback stuff that's already in the market. Don't buy something brand new and replicate old vintage.
I gotcha.
So,
hey, so Illinois is actually about to pass the legalization of marijuana. Obviously, it's been like that here for a little while.
Yeah.
Has that helped your business or changed, or notice any difference?
I mean, look what's on the belt right now. Either cannabis industry or something that has to do with cannabis industry. But you think of whether it's cannabis or education or tech, if you add 500 to 1,000 new businesses into a city, it's obviously going to stimulate the economy.
Wow.
So whether you're a weed fan or whatever, I think about the jobs that it creates, think about the revenue that it creates.
It funnels all the way down.
100%. And I mean, it's regulated. It does wonderful things for tax dollars. A lot of money has gone back to schools and a lot of money has gone back to the homeless population. That's what we talked about at lunch today or breakfast is
right.
Like, what do you do with the homeless population? Well, you invest in people and get them mental care so they don't end up in this habitual pattern. So I think the tax dollars and revenue made from the cannabis industries not just helped our industry because we're producing shirts, but it helps the economy as a whole because it's pumping revenue into the economy, tax dollars into the economy, creating jobs, creating housing market demand. We've benefited immensely from it. And yeah, cost of living goes up, but that's just a sign of business booming. I mean, that's going to happen.
It's exciting, especially for,
It is.
there's a ton of shops in Chicago and Illinois as a whole, so.
Yeah. Well, and you think about all the employees that need merchandising. It's not just like, I don't think like weed stuff is cool. I don't want to wear a weed leaf either, but there's subtle branding and different
or events
facets,
they're doing.
Events, giveaways, merchandising, and then, you know, obviously employee wear. Plus they have retail opportunities too. They all have stores. So we got a folder bagger.
This is being used?
Not currently, but yeah, we use it.
So what was your thought behind buying folder and bagger?
Danny had an old one.
Okay,
So I went and swooped it. If it's smaller run stuff, we'll still do it by hand. And then we use like the recycled plastic bags, which is why we don't typically use these carriers because these are not recycled plastic. So we push people against doing that. So it's very rare that we actually use the bagger. So a lot of times we'll fold on the auto and then manually bag, which costs us a lot more and, you know, takes a lot more time, but
oh, because these are the bags you have to use with this machine?
yeah, there's no like carriers for the recycled plastic because it's pretty limited in terms of supply chain. But it's those little things like packaging and sustainability, like isn't just about the ink type that you're using. It's about all the packaging materials, being conscious of your waste, you know, thinking about the chemicals, and then as a collective being conscious about that whole same mentality. It can't just be me like, we're going to be sustainable. Everybody has to be on that tip, and we all have to agree that that's like something that we want to adopt.
There you go. It's a nice little business idea for folding baggers, sustainable plastic.
And then
or
shout
reusable
out to Eco Enclosed. They're in Boulder. They make all eco-friendly packaging materials. They're the ones that make the recycled plastic bags. They make thoughtfully packaged with eco-friendly shipping supplies. This is what we use for tape. But yeah, all their stuff, like even their box material is all recycled and, you know, eco-friendly content, which is huge. Even for like hang tags and stuff too, you know. Shout out to Tim, the Toolman Taylor over here, just building stuff.
Hey guys,
What's
going on? How are you?
We're not just screen printers, we're also fabricators. This is a top secret project that we can't discuss yet. But since we're on the shout out to Husky for this new toolbox feature. You got to stay crispy and organized, you know. Not only that, let me show you something.
If you don't get a Husky sponsorship after this video,
This is why we bought it right here.
fully featured.
I didn't even put that on there. It came like that custom. The upstairs is kind of a little work in progress right now, so don't judge me.
Oh, this is nice up here.
Yeah, we're under construction up here.
So this is where the showroom used to be.
It is, yeah.
So people would walk through the front, up the stairs, and get over here.
Actually, they wouldn't even walk through that side. They would walk through this like production door and then come straight upstairs.
I gotcha.
So the downstairs was like kind of our construction project. Now that that's done, we're finishing upstairs, and then we're gonna move
all the showroom to downstairs. So
Do you guys do a lot of the building out then, or do you work with a couple guys to help you build out all that stuff?
I do quite a bit of it, but we sub out a lot of the construction stuff.
This is kind of our temporary break room while we're under construction. We got,
This is Talty. This is one of our clients. They do all their fulfillment out of this side here.
So you just pick this every day and then ship it for them?
They actually do their own shipping out of here. They have UPS. So we have Talty and then Threads worldwide. They do fair wage jewelry manufacturing in Guatemala for women's empowerment. It's a great company. Shout out. And Talty. So we have UPS that comes once a day. So actually we do draw straws, and we'll piggyback down all the USPS orders down the stairs.
Oh, got it, for everybody.
Yeah. No. They just take a bucket down once a day. But if it's like a ton of stuff that's shipping out, we have these double doors, and we'll just grab it with the forklift. This is where all the video production once was. So
yeah, and you guys do some neat videos on your YouTube and on Instagram. Well, I mean, what's the thoughts behind putting time into it?
Oh, well, we got to show people what we're doing. Like when customers don't have the opportunity to come in here if they're not local, we like to just give them an inside look of what we do, what our space looks like, what our vibe is, our culture. I think it's super important to let people know.
So what are you going to do with this space then? Just more of a lounge?
This space is going to be like kind of WeWorky vibes.
Okay.
We're going to have like our conference area up here, and then just desk and table space that customers or employees can come work at, and just kind of have like a little chill zone. We're moving the sticker production up here, and then we'll take his space and build that into showroom.
So you've got a solid sized shop here now, Dom. And we were kind of talking about this at lunch, but how do you feel like you mentally keep up with everything? All the moving pieces and hiring and people.
I don't know. I ask myself that every day. Like I've said this before, but just having like staple employees is super important. Like, Hunter has been with us for 5 years, and there's just so much responsibility that he has and takes off my shoulders. And then just having key people on the front of the house, like admins, that are able to handle the day-to-day, just tasks, the ins and outs of production and dealing with customers, so that I can focus on more of like my role, which is kind of visionary and integration and like adopting those strategies. Asking yourself like where motivation lives, and sometimes just digging deep to like make sure that you stay motivated and excited to do what you do, because a lot of the tasks are like, they're things that there's no perfect recipe. It's just a matter of like having the drive and passion to stay consistent and be disciplined every single day to take on the tasks that you have. There's no perfect recipe. It's just a matter of like, honestly, a lot of the time it's having your staff motivate you and trying to be a good leader, so that I always want to outwork the employees. It doesn't really happen with having Hunter and Gordy because they're pretty driven dudes, but you always want to be a good leader and set a good example and stay motivated.
What do you feel like productivity wise, as the business has grown and your roles change, where do you feel like you add the most value now, day to day?
Lately, which is pretty new for me, but like, I think honestly is like understanding employee needs and like having a good relationship with them to make sure that they are excited and passionate about what they do is like where I think my value has been most recently. So thinking about creative things and ways to drive the business forward, thinking about ways that we can improve our company culture, and having a good positive dynamic for having a place that people want to work, because at the end of the day, like, we need key people, and I feel like it's my job to kind of carve that roadmap to make sure that it's a good environment to work in, both for myself and for the people here. But your value is constantly changing, like being versatile and being able to adapt to like whether you need to go fold shirts and be a good example on the production floor, or you need to talk about sales meetings, strategies, attending trade shows to make sure that you don't have any lulls in business. It's all being versatile to what the business expects of you. So it's constantly changing.
We're running the shot. No, you're good. We're just vibing. That's Pepper and Chauncey.
Hi, Pepper.
Check it out. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
It's all folded inventory, so they keep everything crispy on the shelves and send out daily orders from up here. So Tall Tea is actually one of our very first customers, like 10 years ago is when we started working together. That's in the early 2000s when the trend was the bigger the better, full coverage, multicolored stuff.
Dude.
So it was a challenge back then, but I mean, they're still doing like a lot of cool simulated process stuff. These are Tall Teas, so they're made for like snowboard and ski community.
Mm-hmm.
So their client base is like a lot of parts of Asia, Japan, places in Europe. Yeah, there's a lot of.
So you think you'll want to start doing more, like you said, of this kind of fulfillment and storage?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good beta model for one customer, but the more people that want it, the more we're gonna have to adapt to adopting that, because the last thing that you want to do for a small brand is print 5,000 units or have 10 or 15 different SKUs, produce it for them and ship it to them, and it shows up at their headquarters or sometimes even their house, and that's a daunting task to have to fulfill all of your own orders and deal with that.
How do you charge new customers for something like that? Like, do you charge like storage or?
Yeah, there's a storage fee and then like a pick and pack fee per unit. That's the most common way to do it. Other ways is like rev shares. You'll take a bigger percentage of the overall sales. It's a little bit more risky, but yeah, I think the biggest challenge, like for a brand starting out, and then for us too, is just the integrations. How are they set up to sell? Are they in retail exclusively? Do they have e-commerce? And then everybody has a different e-commerce system. So how are you going to talk to that, and how are you going to be efficient with returning orders? And you have to think about the customer service that goes along with it too. People get the wrong sizes. Who's going to deal with the returns of that? The customer or us.
What do you do with that now?
A lot of it's done with us, and then we'll just whoever that's part of like the customer service role. So whoever's account that is, they're going to deal with a lot of the return stuff. But that's probably the biggest challenge that we need to figure out is staffing specifically for that.
Do you charge fees for returns then back?
Yes and no. I mean, it kind of like there's a variance, or there's like a tolerance level, but typically that should be covered in like the
storage fee.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, returns are pretty. What do you say, Paul? How many returns do you guys get? Is it easy to manage?
Yeah, we don't get too many, fortunately.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of brands have a customer base that's pretty familiar with like the blanks that they sell, and they know what the cuts are like. And it would be the same for like, for these guys.
I mean, it does happen though.
Obviously these are all mades, but they've ordered this stuff before, so their customer base pretty much knows how the fit is, so that they'll know that the sizes are true.
And usually we'll have them pay to ship it back, and then we'll pay to reship the new item.
So they pay to ship it back, and then you pay to reship. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, but really, the customer should be covering all of it.
I mean, what do you do if you order from Dillard's online? I think they would probably pay for it.
We're also a small business and not a corporate, like a
yeah. I see.
Corporation.
I see both. Even for small or like big businesses, I was returning these shoes and I had to pay for return back. Now it was like more of like a kind of Nordstrom Rack type of company, so I did have to pay for shipping, or I dropped it off.
Some people market it as that though, like free returns or free exchange. Right. If
right.
like
it's because the Amazon model's so
right
prevalent. It creates these expectations that it's almost like if it's not free, it's a bit surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's like even this 3PL that we're using or we were touring, like it's all AI. Like there's literally people that are like the only role of the warehouse is people I don't even know what their role is anymore, because they have robots that go literally pick stuff off the shelf, bring it to the shipping department. The label process is automated, like
For Amazon?
for even not even just Amazon, but like big 3PL vertically integrated like fulfillment centers.
Right.
So then the question for a small business, or like for us or other print shops, is like, do you want to handle your own fulfillment and staff up for that, or do you want to just partner with somebody that literally has that process so streamlined that there isn't human error, you know?
So you do a mix of both then?
We do. So like, if somebody's going to be mass producing something like for a church, say, and they want to produce all their inventory at the beginning of the year and then just fill orders as the ministry's order, then we're going to work with the 3PL, because that's going to be like 6 pallets of stuff that is like either on a daily or weekly cycle.
And then so you pay the 3PL the same kind of model that you charge your customers?
Yeah,
and then you mark
basically,
it up?
yeah, so what they would charge us, we get a pretty good deal because we're doing multiple accounts, but we just cushion it a little bit. And the goal isn't to make money off of fulfillment, it's just to adapt to the market and not lose that business, you know, to somewhere else. But if you're a small business, it's going to be a little bit different. Like if you're storing 10 boxes here, we'll probably just handle it ourselves versus sending out a couple boxes to a 3PL.
Makes sense.
But it's something I'm learning. Like I'm definitely like not by any means a master. Like we just started like getting into this market, so there's a ton of stuff to learn. And it's just a big question as a shop owner of like, is that something that you want to build into your business? Because it's like a whole another business in your business. But that's where I feel like the industry's going.
Yeah, what keeps you motivated and pushing forward now?
I mean, just quality of life. You know, I was talking to Tim about that the other day. I don't know, like you could always think of like what would you rather be doing, but this industry is like a collection of like driven people that come from creative backgrounds that are like constantly pushing the envelope. And what keeps me motivated is just like the assurance that I'm in the right thing, and that I would definitely not be happier in any other industry. Every job comes with its challenges, but at least you know, like you have the security blanket that you've made the right choice in terms of picking the right profession, because there's a lot of people that are not stoked on what they're doing. Again, continuing to be a leader for the team is a big driver of motivation.
That's awesome.
You're looking for one-word answers, I'm going like storyboard for you.
This is Dominic from Superior Inc. Since he prints for all the ski and snowboard companies out here, if you guys ever need free lift tickets, be sure to find him. I'll leave the address in the link below.
That's nice of you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we got you. Season passes, we hand them out like candy around here.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining.
Peace out.